It's day 21 of 20, and it was a long weekend. So, Wednesday was a networking event, Thursday was Demo Day LA, which was like half a day. Friday, I hosted an event, which was another long event, like 3.5 hours. And I spent the first half of Friday also working. Saturday, I had a class worked, so I'm so tired. I started today off with an event, just out exercising, meeting people, nothing really to work. I had 2 classes today, and then I just got into my first technical challenges of the next 4 weeks. I am going to basically do one challenge from the first 4 weeks to review it, and then a new challenge each day. So doing 2 challenges, one review, one new. The next 2 weeks are going to be doing new content, new data structures I haven't seen, like backtracking and graphs. And then once I clean those up, it's going to be all just solving problems and grinding, trying to get through 1-2 questions a day, just build the problem solving skills I need. Today I did the linked list class in the constructor function way and also in the class syntax. I learned about static methods again, reviewed chaining on functions in JavaScript, and like little things like that basically. And I don't think I'm going to do a second question today. I'm exhausted, and I think I'm going to pick up tomorrow. I'm going to get to flashcards, so I'm way behind on those, and I'm going to just keep it light today, and then tomorrow I'll kind of get into the full swing of things, jobs and coffee chats and connecting with people and network events, all that stuff. But that is the very first day of the next 4 weeks. I'm really excited to see where it goes. Tomorrow I have a mock interview, and I will see you then. It's day 22 of 20. Started today off with the mock interview. It went well and bad. Well, and then I solved the question, like how to solve it instantly. Implementing it in code, once again, kind of slow. Ran into this really weird bug with adding basically a count inside of a hash map, like iterating over an array and counting each instance of that element. And so that broke the code and spent half the time trying to debug it. And so the feedback was to use simpler code so it's easy to debug. But that was a really great session, got lots of really helpful feedback. I scheduled my next mock interview for 2 weeks after this. I'm going to try to do it every 2 weeks. I might increase the frequency once I get through all the big data structures. I also learned about the difference between map and object. I've kind of used both of them, but not that much. And so map would have also been a much more efficient data structure to use on that one. Middle part of the day was classes back to back, and it's now 5 o'clock. So I have not done anything yet. I'm going to go in and resolve the question from the technical interview. Then I want to get into a challenge from day 2 of the last 4 weeks. And then I'm going to get into a new data structure, which is graphs. I'm going to do some flashcard review. I need to do job applications, and I scheduled in a new networking event in Irvine. I heard their tech space is really good over there. They have a bunch of companies that are hiring, things like Blizzard's over there and Disney and Activision, all these companies. So I'm going to try to connect with people over there. The networking event from Friday was also really good. I didn't talk about that in the last video. I met a bunch of really cool people, met someone who was studying computational linguistics, someone who had software infrastructure, software devs, people still in school. It was a really great group. So that's today. I'm going to add in the code that I do after this, like always. And I'm making this video now because I probably will be less well presented later on in the day. I'll probably change to something more comfortable. But anyway, that's day 2 or day 22 of 21. Day 22 of 20. And I will see you tomorrow. It is day 23 of 20. Started today off with a live session going through the graph data structure, and we solved LeetCode 1791 or 1971, can't remember. I'll put the code up at the end. And we spent the first half of the session going through the algorithm for building the data structure as a map or as an object. So converting from an array of arrays into a map object. In the second half, we started implementing that process. We also talked about the algorithm to basically traverse the graph and find the start to the destination, the source to destination. So that's half finished. We only got to half it in an hour. But it was a very productive session, really helpful. I'll probably finish that tomorrow. Then after that, it was class and more class. One of the classes got canceled, so I used the space in there to do a second technical challenge from, again, the first 4 weeks to review. Then I got into, after all the classes were finished, 2 job applications, and I got to a little bit of flashcards. And later on tonight, I went to get into the next full stack project, brainstorming what I want to do, if I want it to be something that contributes to the Project Harvard business, or if it's just a full stack project to put on the portfolio. I haven't decided yet, but I want to start soon. It is Thanksgiving break this week, and I want to slow down a little bit because last week was a little bit intense. So I'm going to try to, at minimum, get through technical challenges every day still, and maybe some job apps, but trying to just slow down a little bit on things, and then pick back up next week. But that is day 23, and I will see you tomorrow. It is day 24 of 20, halfway through this day. Actually, no, it's 7 p.m. Started today off with technical challenges, so went back to the first 4 weeks and did a linked list problem, and then after that I got into the move zeros problem, which is LeetCode 283, I want to say. I'll put the code up at the end. That one caused more trouble than I thought it would. So when I solved it in the first 4 weeks, I solved it with someone, and that made it easier than I thought it was. So I really have to go through and work it more tomorrow. I tried diagramming it today and solving it, and I just missed like one piece of logic. So I really want to find a better way to think about 2-pointer problems, because right now they're still kind of elusive. The solution is, especially for those edge cases or the one case that you just didn't think of. So I'm going to have to do more work on that one. After that, I got back into solving the graph problem. So that's LeetCode 1971. I just built the DFS algorithm for it, and I have not applied the DFS algorithm to the 1971 problem yet. So that will probably also happen tomorrow. I've done nothing else with my day besides that. I had 2 classes and really just got outside, got some sun. I am mostly worn through and exhausted, so I'm going to try to not do too much tonight. I might apply to some jobs, maybe 2, and then I'll call it quits. Tomorrow I'm going to still try to do a technical challenge and maybe apply to a job or 2 on Thanksgiving, but we'll see. It's a holiday. That is day 24, and I will see you all tomorrow for the last day of the first week of the second 4 weeks. It is day 25 of 20, the last day of the first week of the second 4 weeks. Started off today with the technical challenges, of course. I went back to the first 4 weeks to do LeetCode 11, container with most water. That was super easy on the second pass through, so that was really cool to see the progress there. After that, I went to redo move zeros, which had a bug in it from the last day, and that was actually really easy to solve as well. I just needed to kind of brute force all the possible cases, which was actually maybe like 4 in total, and I found where the case that I had not considered, so that was kind of another good strategy to know for 2-pointer problems. And that's it. For job applications, I did some easy applies, just like one-click applies on LinkedIn and ZipRecruiter. Again, I'm on break. It is Black Friday. I'm not going to do anything this weekend. I worked last weekend. And I will start fresh and anew on Sunday in the second week. And I will see you all then. It is day 26 of 20. Started today off with technical challenges, as always. So I got to a challenge from the first 4 weeks, which was two-sum, very famous LeetCode problem. I solved that using maps instead of objects this time to get a little bit familiar with that type of data structure. That was pretty quick. That's my 3rd time, I think, solving that problem. Then I moved into finally finishing LeetCode 1971, find if path exists in a graph. So the first thing I did was build the graph in an object. Second task, which I did separately on a different day, was to build the DFS algorithm. and then today was combining those two parts together, basically applying the DFS algorithm to the graph that was built, and it worked, but it was inefficient and it timed out. So I'm going to need an additional day to finish that one off. After that, I got into job applications. I've gotten through one job app so far, and I'm currently on my second one. I feel like I'm doing my job apps really slow. I feel like maybe the intentionality will help it to get noticed, but I don't know, it might just be a numbers game. And maybe I should be applying to 50 applications a day instead of 2. But that's the start of the day, and I will see you soon. Over the weekend, I did go to the 2 networking events. One was in Santa Monica, which is one that I've been to before, and less of an attendance because it was Black Friday, but it was at night. It was really great. Met some really cool people, as always. And then the next event was in Irvine. Actually, it was in Anaheim, and that one was a really amazing event. Really good turnout. Met a lot of new people from OC, and learned about some jobs, which I'm applying to right now, and met people in the quantum field, met full stack, front end, met tutors, just all sorts of like technical and technically oriented people. So that was a really good event. I'm going to go to more of those for sure. All right, it is the end of the day. I finished that job application, the second one. I did flashcards, so adding more star format questions to my review deck. I'm going to Google DevFest this Saturday in Pasadena, and I think I know what I'm working on for my next project. It's probably for a startup, and as those details come in, I will add them and talk about them more. But that is day 26 of 20. It is day 27 of 20. Started today off going through technical challenges. So I went back to the first 4 weeks and I got through shuffling an array. Very easy. Kind of pushing through some brain fog and fatigue today. Completed that. I did maximum subarray and I modified it a little bit and solved it with 2 pointers and to return the indices to get some practice with that. Did a little bit more work on 1971. Still time limit exceeded, so I found out that I was using shift and unshift, which, you know, is not very time efficient, but that was not the problem. So I'm gonna have to take one more day to look at it again, and then gonna get into trees with an I after that. Just about done with data structures, just need to do backtracking and dynamic programming. In the middle part of the day, I kind of just took off and rested, body exhausted. But then later on in the day, I got into job applications, and I sent off 2 of those. And then later on tonight, I'm going to get into flashcards, as always, adding in more star format questions and doing some review on technical questions. And that's going to be it for today. Tomorrow is going to be super duper long, like 4 hours of class, 5 sessions, and an event after that. So I'm going to try to do a little bit less today, and then a little bit less tomorrow as well. Another thing that happened is that I got on a call with one of the founders of a startup, and I will potentially be building for them starting in December or January. So that'll be the next project. And I have another interview with another startup here in Los Angeles, and to talk about that position and see if it's paid or unpaid and what the scope of that is. So really excited about both those opportunities, and I will add more details as I figure them out. But anyway, that is day 27, and I will see you tomorrow. It is day 28 of 20. Currently 12 a.m. It was as long of a day as expected. Today started off with a live technical coding session, working through problems. Someone brought a question called assign cookies, LeetCode 455, and that was a good problem to solve live in front of other people, so I volunteered to solve, which very closely, I would say, simulates like being in an interview setting, so that's always a great experience to have. After that ended, it was lots and lots of class. Then I got back and I worked through technical challenges from the first 4 weeks, so that was LeetCode 409, longest palindrome, and LeetCode 344, reverse a string. And I tried to do those using more advanced methods like 2 pointers and things, even though they're pretty simple to solve. And then I finally figured out LeetCode 1971. I actually took that into the live technical session in the morning, and they helped me find the bug. And it was an additional for loop that did not need to be there. I was doing like the breadth first search algorithm, which I didn't need to strictly follow, and I was adding in nodes to the queue that did not need to be added in that order, and it slowed it down. But I need to go back and actually review that code, which I'll probably do in the next 4 weeks. But then I sent out some job applications at midnight, and one of those job applications has a technical assessment, kind of automated. So I'm gonna have to get to that sometime this week. I think tomorrow I'm gonna take off and try to do very little because I can tell that I'm pushing my body a little bit too much. And yeah, that's day 28. And I will see you all tomorrow or again today. It is day 29 of 20. Started today off with job apps and technical challenge for the first 4 weeks, 2 pointers, longest substring without repeating characters, which went a lot faster than the first time I went through it. So 2-point easy problems are easy, which is really cool. I said I was going to take today off, and I'm going to mostly do that in the afternoon. I'm going to build a small project in TypeScript to get familiar with the syntax for the automated assessment for the job application that I started yesterday, and then I will check back in later today. Alright, it is the end of the day. Middle of the day, I took off as planned. I got some rest. I'm feeling a lot better. A lot less fatigue and brain fog. I got into building out a TypeScript project to get familiar with TypeScript syntax for, again, that assessment that's coming up on Friday. And then I've spent most of my time watching YouTube videos, getting into the difference between AI engineers, ML engineers, looking at AI workflows inside of IDEs, how people are using agents and MCPs and context and all of these things to just start building some understanding of AI and how it could affect my own workflow. And I'm still doing that. I plan to be doing more of that for the rest of the day. So that's kind of today. It's supposed to be slow and kind of resting, relaxing. I think today and tomorrow are both going to be kind of slow. My weekend has interviews and Google DevFest, so just trying to slow down in the middle of the week so I have energy for the end of the week, which is going to be more work. But that is the end of day 28, and I will see you all tomorrow for the last day of the week. It is day 30 of 20. Started today off with a live session working through 2 LeetCode easy problems for greedy algorithms. Those were pretty fun. After that, started applying to jobs, got through 1 so far. I want to try to increase the volume of job apps for the job apps that don't require any questions to be filled out when you just kind of submit a resume. So I'm going to try to get through maybe 4 or 5 today, we'll see. But that's the morning, and I will see you soon. Alright, it is the second part of the day. Middle part of the day, got on the call with the founder for the startup here in Los Angeles. They're building a product configurator, and so that implementation for that project looks pretty straightforward. Maybe not quick, but something I definitely think I could do. And so I'll probably start building that and work on that through December. That's a full stack project, and it looks really cool to work on, and it could be paid once the project is done. I know them personally, so it's you know, a little bit more of a flexible type of arrangement. Basically, December is a flexible time to figure the product out. If we finish it by end of December, I'll get paid. If it doesn't get figured out by then, it's not officially starting in production until Q1, so there's some wiggle room, which takes the pressure off, which is awesome. We scheduled a second call for tomorrow to actually get into the technical details of that and how to implement it, so that's going to be another 1 to 2 hour call tomorrow. I also went through and continued watching more videos on front-end architecture and architecture in general, just looking at how apps are built to just have a bird's eye view of my skill set. And I applied some more jobs, and I'm going to watch more of those videos tonight and keep it simple. And yeah, that's going to be day 30. This weekend is full. Tomorrow is a assessment and a call with the founder, and then call with the other founder that we just talked about. So it's gonna be busy, really busy. Technically, it'll be day 31 and 32, but we'll just count it as day 30. But that is the end of the 6th week, and I will see you all next week. It is day 31 of 20, moving into week 7. The weekend was long, but in a good way. So Friday started off with the automated assessment, and that was refactoring a TypeScript project and implementing an LRU cache into a data layer. I had no idea I really had to do that. And even though the assessment said not to use AI, I had Copilot right there with me, basically helping me explore the code base, explain the code, the lines of code, and it gave me a blueprint of how to refactor the code within 30 minutes, like the most important things to refactor. So I really just use it as a learning experience, getting into a new unfamiliar code base, learning TypeScript syntax, databases, caches, all these things I've never done before. So probably won't move forward in that process, but it was a great learning experience. After that, I had the call with the second startup here in Los Angeles. Probably not moving forward with them. They had no funding. It was an intern position, unpaid, for an unspecified amount of time, and they had 4 interns already hired and only 1 tech lead, so it seemed like they really needed low-cost labor, and I don't really have time for that. Later on in the day, on Friday, got into the second discovery call with the other founder for the fashion startup here in Los Angeles. I will be moving forward with them. I will be building out their MVP through December and into January a little bit. I'll be the sole person working on that basically for the first 4 or 5 weeks. Then a senior dev will be joining in January to build out one of the other features. So the cool part is I'll get to build out most of that myself. And I was over the weekend also looking at a bunch of videos and content about how to do that through AI. So front-end design, architecture, basically building an MVP as fast as possible, using AI workflows and things like that. So it's gonna be a really cool learning experience. It'll be great on my resume, and it should be paid once I complete that project, which I'm very confident I'll be able to do. Also, Google Dev Fest, which happened yesterday, was all day. It was really good. The big takeaway from me for that was we moved from prediction to generation to now agentic or orchestrating agents. So we're going from architecting software solutions to orchestrating agents, which is very interesting. That's on the cutting edge. Some of the talks were really slow. Some of them were really helpful. Lunch was really good. Met not as many people as I wanted to, but overall it was a good event. I would definitely go again. And that was that. I ordered a system design book that's on its way today, starting super late. I really slept in and trying to go slow today because yesterday was literally 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. It was so long. And so today it needs to go a little bit slower to kind of rebound from that. But that was the weekend. All right, just finished technical challenges for today. I went back and worked on fruits into baskets, which was a 2-pointer problem. It was really cool seeing that for the second time. I switched between using a while loop, a for loop, using a map, set, and object, looking at the syntax for all of them, and coming up with a solution that was really clean code-wise and also efficient. And so it was just really cool to see again my brain processing 2-pointers much more quickly, and it feels easy now. And that's just like the power of like kind of cycling through your content and seeing it multiple times over and making it easy. So being able to solve weak code medium questions in like 20 to 30 minutes pretty efficiently with clean code is pretty awesome to see. After that, I jumped into subsets and backtracking. That's probably going to take me all week to get through backtracking. I'm starting to get into more of the advanced algorithms, and so I'm going to try to break up doing that over a couple of days, and then working through like one weak code medium question a day, and that should really help to build the skills that I actually need in an interview. The advanced algorithm questions aren't really that important unless I'm going to go into backend roles, which I'm trying to keep that door open as well. But that's the technical session, and I will check back in soon. It's the second half of the day. Middle part of the day, I applied to 4 jobs. Some of them hadn't needed like custom responses, but most of them are just click apply, so that was pretty fast. After finishing 2 classes, I then got into starting to architect the project for the fashion startup. Basically pulling in all the design requirements, bringing in the mock-ups, and looking at what the tech stack is going to be for that. So I've got the initial results kind of down using AI to kind of compile all that, put it into a GitHub README file. And tomorrow I want to get into the actual design workflow on the Figma file to see how they're creating the garments and customizing them, and then making sure that every single technical feature is being considered in this first mockup. And so this first week we'll be going through and doing feasibility on all those core features to see if it's possible and how much work it's going to take. But that is the end of day 31. It is day 32 of 20. Started today off with a mock interview. It went pretty well. I had a small bug, actually 2 small bugs, caught both of them in time and solved the question completely, which I think might be the first time that I've gotten to a mock interview and completed the question in time. It was a very simple question. It was just taking an array of strings and make sure that they're sorted. But actually implementing it, I don't know why it took so long to get through so many small bugs. I think just being nervous, basically, in the interview. But it was cool. Got through all of them, discussed all the bugs, talked about optimizing the code, and that was the end of that interview. I'm going to schedule mock interviews once a week moving forward. I'm at a point where I know all the basic data structures, so I think it makes sense to just get more practice doing it in front of someone live when there's nerves present, just to basically work on that. And so yeah, that's that. After that, I got into rewriting my resume, basically putting all the work that I'm about to do for this startup on the resume. I know most companies don't see my resume for a month after I apply, so trying to future-proof the resume in that regards. So I can land interviews in January, February. I'm going to apply to jobs when I get back from a little mental health walk, and then I'm going to get into more startup work. Working through the Figma workflow to make sure that the MVP is considering all the design constraints. So that's the start of the day, and I will check back in later. It is the second half of the day. I got to 3 job apps, sent those off. Got into looking through the Figma design workflow a little bit. I'm going to do more of that right now. I also got this book in the mail, System Design Interview, so I'm reading through that whenever I get a free chance. And that kind of rounds out today, and I will see you all tomorrow. It is day 32 of 30. Started today off with a live session doing technical challenges as a group. Today we got into heaps, explaining the heap data structure, time and space complexity for heaps and heap operations. Then we solved the LeetCode easy 1464. Went pretty well. I thought we'd have to construct the heap from scratch and implement some of the heap logic, but it was mostly just using the data structure, which JavaScript does not have built in. But implementing a little class and doing some simple things. So yeah, that's the start of the day, and I will check back in soon. Alright, it is the second half of the day. I did not get much accomplished today. Tuesdays are always insane. I am going to apply to some jobs here in a little bit, and I want to do a little bit of work on the design constraints for the MVP for the startup, and I need to be doing more behavioral prep. I haven't been doing much of that. I did get to the system design book a little bit over lunch, but yeah, not super productive today. Tomorrow is usually my catch-up day, less classes, and so I will just do my best tomorrow, get a little bit done tonight, and I will see you all then. It is day 34 of 20. Started off with data structures and algorithms, as always, get the hard stuff out of the way. Worked a problem from the first 4 weeks, LeetCode 424, which is the longest repeating character replacement, and then I got back into backtracking, or I tried to. It's still so hard to wrap my brain around, and I am not really that awake and focused, so I asked Gemini to help me with a breath first approach, and that was actually surprisingly simple. Just a couple lines of code actually to do that, which is pretty interesting. The time and space complexity for that algorithm is also really interesting. The space complexity makes sense, it's 2 to the n, but the time complexity for that, the time complexity is 2 to the n, the space complexity for that is really interesting because you're summing basically across a bunch of combinations, which is a very interesting math problem I want to try and get into if I have a little bit of extra time this week. But that is the morning session, and I will see you again soon. It is the second half of the day. pretty busy again, and intentionally not doing tech stuff. So after the morning session, mental health walk, prepping for an event later, that was tonight. 2 classes and straight to the event. The event was not tech, and I really wanted to just not be. After 7 weeks of going to just networking events and things like that, I felt like my social life really died, and it was all work no play. So last 2 nights just went out and met people and talked and got to fill my social battery, if that's a thing. And that means I have lots of work left to do tonight, so I still need to apply to more jobs. I need to actually start building for the MVP. And I will be probably up until 3 a.m., just like last night. But yeah, just trying to find some balance. It has been a really productive 7 weeks, and I want to make sure that I'm doing things other than this job search to some extent. But that is day 34, and I will see you all tomorrow. It is day 35 of 20. Did not get anything done after I posted that video last night, so I have catch up to do today and probably over the weekend. Started today off with technical challenges and DSA. So we did a live session, we continued with heaps, and we did LeetCode 1046, which is last stone weight. And today we implemented it with a priority queue instead of a heap data structure, which is pretty close but a little bit different. And then after that, I got back into backtracking, and the DFS algorithm still is pretty challenging. So what I did today was just copy the code line by line, and I stepped through it, basically diagramming it out as I went through the lines of code. So it looks something like that. Basically, it forms a branching tree diagram, and that actually the idea up and kind of made it make sense. So I think the last time I'll do problem 78 is next week. I'll try to code that from scratch, seeing how that recursive algorithm worked, and then I can start getting into more of the advanced backtracking problems, which is really cool. But that is the morning session, and I will check back in soon. It is the second part of the day. Over lunch, I got to the system design book a little bit, got into job applications and caught up for yesterday and today. Finished the last little bit of planning for the data models and the overall structure of the MVP, and I actually got to the best part of being a software engineer, which is building and prototyping. So initializing the app and getting the canvas set up to actually start testing out to see if this idea will work. And I'm going to be doing that for the rest of tonight and tomorrow. And tomorrow I have hosting our second Long Beach Tech Meetup. That'll be in the evening, and we'll be building for the weekend most likely. But that is the end of week 7, and I will see you all in week 8. All right, it is day 36 of 20. It is week 8. Over the weekend, we hosted the Long Beach Meetup. That was really great. We had a really good group of people. I took the weekend off. I remembered that the weekend before I was at Google Dev Fest, had 2 startup interviews, just did a bunch of things, and I kind of hit like a soft wall last Wednesday. So I was like, if I push the weekend, it's just gonna get worse. So I took the weekend off. Today, super long, 6 hours of class, plus a small event, just so much going on. I did breadth first and depth research for LeetCode 78 subsets, doing backtracking both ways just to kind of get another cycle through that and think through it and kind of lay the foundations before I start jumping into other backtracking problems. I applied to 1 job so far, trying to apply to a second, but they all require actually like signing up for an app, signing up for the software, exploring it, playing through it. So I'm going to try to get to that tonight, and then I have so much other stuff to do, but I might not do anything else today because 6 hours of class is insane. So that's day 36. This is finals week, so I'm going to be doing a bunch of work, and then the next 2 weeks will be winter break, which I'm going to try to do catch up then. But yeah, let's start week 8. I will talk to you tomorrow. It is day 37 of 20. Started today off with jumping right into building the MVP, laying some of the foundational work for the app. So in React, building the context provider for the data layer, which I kind of understand. I'm again, using AI to kind of guide me through that. Getting some of the mock data set up because we're not going to use a database until the front end is working. And that took about an hour. After that, I jumped right into a mock interview, and that went really well. I felt really confident in getting the skills through explaining my thought process, coding and debugging quickly. And so I wrapped up the code maybe 5 minutes after the session was over. I didn't actually finish this time, but it also required writing 2 functions and debugging both of them and check for edge cases. But that was really great. I feel like every mock interview I do is really helpful. And so again, I'm going to schedule one each week going forward. That's the morning session. I'm going to go take a break, let my brain let some steam off, get outside, get some sunshine, and then I'm going to come back and continue building. I have so much stuff to catch up on today, but I'm going to keep going slow, try not to rush too much and try to catch up too much. Just do what I can and do it consistently each day this week. In our final week of the second 4 weeks, but I will see you soon. It is the second part of the day. In the middle of the day, I got through a bunch of building for the MVP for the startup, which is awesome. I'm so glad I took off the weekend. That really helped out today to just get in and go kind of full speed ahead. That was basically the whole day. I got the basics down, and I'm all ready tomorrow to start pulling in Fabric.js, which I think is a JavaScript library. It's a rendering, basically, engine for 2D assets in JavaScript. And I'm really excited to do that. So that's going to be tomorrow. I put a little more effort into the job application. It's such a long job app. It wanted me to explore the app and look at the feature list, write out my dream project for working at the company, like all of these things, which is like, an hour plus for a single app, which might not even be seen by somebody. But I'm going to work on it a little bit over the course of this week and submit it because it is a local job here in Los Angeles, and it is a junior developer role, which I feel like I have a good chance of getting. So I'm just going to kind of chip away at it each day and see where that goes. But that is today. I read some of the system design book. I might do a little bit more of that type of stuff, watching videos and reading books, but all of my deep focus is gone for the day, and I will pick up tomorrow. So I will see you then. It is the end of day 38 of 20. Started today off with a live data structures and algorithms class with a couple of other students. We continued on with heaps and priority queues. I solved a pretty simple question. Beginners were kind of taking over the session today, so I kind of just listened in, which is also pretty cool. Over the last 8 weeks, basically I've moved from not knowing much about data structures and algorithms to being intermediate to advanced, which is really awesome. I have a couple of data structures and algorithms left to learn, divide and conquer, binary search, intervals, and tries, which I got into today. So I spent most of today's live session actually reading up about tries and how to implement them, and I'm going to try to get to them this week and wrap up all of the remaining data structures and algorithms by the end of this week. And then the next 4 weeks and the 4 weeks after that, just practicing LeetCodes across all of those. LeetCode is pretty fun, honestly. Sometimes like the pressures of the job search kind of distract from, I don't know, how enjoyable it is to have a puzzle and just play with it and figure it out and find a solution. Kind of one of the things I love about mathematics. But that was the first part of the day. After that, I got right into building again. Today was much harder than yesterday, so trying to integrate the Fabric.js library into React is always super challenging. Use refs and use effects and passing context to all the components and things like that. So my brain was pretty tired today. Yesterday I went really hard, so today I tried to just use AI to explain, use references and use effects and things like that to start building the foundations for what I'm going to build by the end of this week, which is hopefully a fully working Fabric.js canvas and actually bring in some of the assets for the very first time. But that was that. In the evening, I went to a networking event in Orange County, and it was a huge combination of like a bunch of separate tech groups in OC. There was an XD group there. There was a bunch of UX UI design groups there. I don't think I met a single software developer there, actually. Everyone was design or some other field like program manager and things like that. It was a really, really good event, maybe like 200 people. Just kind of wandered through and talked to a couple people. So that's my networking event for the week, and that's day 38. And I will see you all tomorrow. It is the end of day 39 of 20. Today was really full, so I started off with building just right out the gate. And I gotta say, AI for learning coding is such a good pairing because all of the library documentation is online and all the code that has ever been written is also online. Not all of it's public, but I think AI and large language models do a really good job of guiding you through how to learn code compared to like math or science. So it's really cool to basically be able to ask AI to help you build a project, guide you through the steps, and then you can ask endless amounts of questions to the AI for every single line of code. You can dig into basics of JavaScript, React, the library that you're working with, just literally anything that comes to your mind. It's like being a kid and you can ask the question why as many times as you want. And there's always an answer. They're infinitely knowledgeable. It's like being in a classroom, the teacher always knows the answers, which is really amazing. After building, I got into a live technical workshop with Anthony Mays with Brilliant Black Minds, and I got to pick his brain a little bit, and everyone else got to ask questions. We went over it by quite a bit. It was a 90-minute session, but it was really good advice, really helpful to talk to senior devs to see like what their job interview process is like, networking and things like that. I think I'm going to keep doing data structures and algorithms. I don't know if I'm going to end up at Meng, but I think I want to keep the door open. So I want to keep building my expertise there. I think I have a little bit left to do, just see a couple more data structures and then nail all of them down across all of that. In terms of building, that's what my resume is missing most right now is a big project, teamwork, things like that. So working on the MVP is going to take care of that. And I spent most of today just doing that. And it's been really fun. And the best part of, the building phase, which is just putting the base components together, making sure they work, and then you get to see all the results pop instantly. So I actually got assets into the canvas. I can click and drag and drop, resizing the canvas and adding elements and little UI styling tweaks, things like that. And it's just really great. So that was most of the day. It was really productive. I did LeetCode 208 and got into tries some more today as well. And I want to do a couple more things, possibly after, maybe read the system design book, maybe do a little bit of flashcards and behavioral prep, but that's most of the day. I will see you all tomorrow for the last day of the first 8 weeks. It is day 40 of 20, the end of the 8 weeks. Started today off with a live technical session, group session, solving LeetCode 1976, number of ways to arrive at a destination, which is a weighted graph. Pretty challenging question. I only solved the first half, which was just building the graph, and then I'll take a look probably next week at how to actually implement the code for that. Next week, of course, is winter break, so not going to be doing too much. But I'm going to be in another live session, probably with the same people, and see the rest of that session. Then I also went and started working on tries some more and implemented searching through a try and mostly just copying down code, keeping the learning kind of passive, a little bit active because my brain is pretty tired. So it's been a long week. And that's the morning session. I'm going to eat lunch, and then I'm going to get into building more things for the MVP, and I will check back in after that. I did not get to much building yesterday. My brain was exhausted from the previous day. I really like the intense day and then a complete day off and then a really intense day, then a day off. So after I did technical challenges, I did a very tiny amount of work on the MVP. And then I did some LinkedIn posts, some social outreach. Then I went to 2 events and just kind of enjoyed the day, took it off. Today I was planning to build, but I'm still kind of feeling a little bit tired, so I'm actually going to do the building tomorrow. Going to keep it flexible, work a little bit on the weekend, but the schedule over the next couple of days will be really flexible. Today I have to go and play with an app and write down 7 things that I love about the app for job applications. I'm going to do that. I need to post this video, the last one of the 8 weeks. I need to do a recap of the last 8 weeks, and I need to go and handle some LinkedIn messages that I'm getting new connections from a post that I did, and just like small little kind of upkeep work, and then more socializing tonight. So tomorrow I think I'm going to go actually and go to the startup offices and work there with the CEO and talk and chat and build a little bit and make up for day 40. But that is the end of the 8 weeks. I am so incredibly proud of all the work that I got done this 8 weeks grew so much. And I will put all my thoughts, of course, in another video right after this one. End of the first 8 weeks, it's really hard to believe that we're already here. It has been just as fast as the first 4 weeks. So much has happened. I'm so happy of where I'm at right now. I feel like my skills have grown so much, regardless of whether I have landed a job or not, which I kind of have, if you've been following. So in total, over the last 8 weeks, 33 job applications, which I know is still kind of rookie numbers in this job market, but that's up from 20 over the last 4 weeks. 5 rejections out of those 33, so a lot of them are still pending. 2 coffee chats, 6 networking events, 2 of which I co-hosted, 25 new LinkedIn connections, a lot of those being senior devs, which is really awesome. Starting to see regular faces at the tech events, so getting to really build a community here in Los Angeles. And it's not so much about finding a job, it's actually kind of just having friends, honestly. At this point, people who are technical and love talking about tech is really awesome. 2 mock interviews, but all the things that I talked about in the first 4 weeks reason why I wanted to start this are still kind of true. Rejection therapy, putting myself out there, having external accountability, building a habit. I think my habit is pretty well formed at this point over the last 8 weeks. So every day I'm going to be doing a small technical challenge, building my skills in that. Moving forward, I think whether I land a job or not, I think it's really fun. LeetCode's pretty interesting. I think the puzzles are really enjoyable to work on. So I always want to spend a little bit of time doing that. And then if I'm ever in the job market again after, I'll be ready to go and I won't have to prepare later. The channel has grown a little bit, not super fast, and I'm not really too concerned with that, but we have a couple new followers here, so welcome. And then of course, making sure that more women and minorities and people of color getting into tech, that is always a good thing. Things that I really enjoyed over the last 4 weeks was that my DSA skills, data structures and algorithms, have really solidified. I feel really confident in them. Working alongside senior devs on problems, I feel pretty equal footing. So I think everything I do beyond this is really going to be just for my own kind of curiosity. And again, if I'm in the job market again later on, I think DSA is really important. It builds a lot of good core skills and problem solving, things like that. But got better at debugging, translating solutions into code. I did get hired at a startup. My AI workflow for building is really coming along nicely. I rebuilt my resume again and got a bunch of awesome, amazing tips from some of my senior devs. And things that did not go well, I need to get more behavioral prep in, but I really want to build projects first because your experience in projects and being on teams is really more important. And then system design practice, I got more into that, just reading it, not really practicing yet. And I do want to do more job applications. But that is the first 8 weeks. It has been really amazing. I'm really excited and looking forward to the next 4 weeks, especially with this build for the startup. But we will check in next week. Even though it's Christmas week, I'm still going to be building things and having fun. So I will catch you on day 41.